Ever wonder why a whole generation seems perfectly fine just being by themselves? Today, we're diving into the latchkey kids, the ones who grew up wild, independent, and surprisingly comfortable with solitude. So why are people who grew up in the 70s so at ease with being alone? Let's rewind the clock. The 1970s wasn't just a different time. It was practically a different planet. No internet, no smartphones, no social media feeds to endlessly scroll. Entertainment wasn't something you streamed. It was something you had to find, make up, or go outside and create. And that's the real root of it all. Kids in the 70s were raised in a world where you were expected to figure things out. Parents didn't hover. They trusted you. You didn't get a ride to the front door of the school. You walked or you rode your bike, sometimes for miles, often alone. When school was over, you'd let yourself in with a key on a string around your neck. No one was there waiting with a snack or a homework checklist. It was just you, the TV with its 3 channels, maybe a sandwich you made yourself, and hours of unstructured time. This kind of freedom wasn't just about independence. It taught a crucial life skill: how to be alone without being lonely, how to quiet your own mind and just be. Think about it. 70s kids were the last truly analog generation. Their brains weren't wired for the constant dopamine drip of notifications and likes. They didn't crave non-stop stimulation from a screen because that option didn't exist. Instead, they had to make their own. They drew, they read, they built forts out of couch cushions. They took apart old radios just to see how they worked. They created entire worlds with a few action figures and a patch of dirt in the backyard. For them, imagination wasn't a cute hobby. It was a survival skill. And when you spend your formative years learning to build worlds inside your own head, your mind becomes the ultimate playground. Being alone isn't scary, it's an opportunity. Let's be honest, the perception of danger was completely different. Today, letting a 9-year-old ride their bike across town alone would probably spark a neighborhood watch alert. But in the 70s, that was just Tuesday. It's not that bad things didn't happen, but there was a general cultural trust that allowed kids more freedom to roam. You'd head to a friend's house if they weren't home. You'd just ride somewhere else, exploring your neighborhood with no plan, no map, just you and your bike. This constant self-direction builds a deep-seated comfort in your own company. You become the captain of your own ship. And let's talk about boredom. With only a handful of TV channels and cartoons relegated to Saturday mornings, there was no endless content to consume. You had to do things instead of just watching them. So when you were alone, you weren't numbing out on a device. You were outside, maybe lying in the grass, looking at clouds, or in your room, listening to a record, making a mixtape, or just staring at the ceiling and thinking. Being alone wasn't a punishment, it was the default setting. Today, kids' schedules are often packed to the minute. Soccer, piano, coding camp, playdates scheduled weeks in advance. In the 70s, it was more like school, home, done. This left huge, empty blocks of time. And here's the secret magic of boredom. It forces you to get creative. It forces you to look inward. You learn that silence isn't something to be filled, and boredom isn't something to fear. It's a blank canvas. And once you learn to be friends with boredom, being alone becomes peaceful, restorative, and even powerful. It's a superpower that an entire generation learned out of necessity, and one that's more valuable than ever in our hyper-connected world. Let's be real. Parenting in the 70s wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. It could be tough. Your feelings, they weren't always the main topic of conversation. Your emotions, not always validated with a gentle pat on the back. You didn't get a medal just for participating. Instead, you were teased, you were challenged, and you were told to toughen up. Now, don't get me wrong. There was love, but it wasn't always soft and cuddly. And while that style of upbringing came with its own set of challenges, it did teach one incredible skill: resilience. When you re-raised not to expect someone to swoop in and fix every little problem for you, you get pretty good at figuring things out on your own. You learn how to sit with discomfort and navigate your own way through it. This applied to everything, including emotional challenges like loneliness, because so much of life in the 70s was about doing things yourself. Solitude didn't feel like a punishment. It felt like freedom. Think about it. No one was constantly watching over your shoulder. No one was judging your every move. You weren't trying to curate a perfect life to get likes on social media. You were just living. A long walk by yourself, a bike ride to who knows where, just sitting on the front porch, listening to the radio. These simple moments weren't seen as sad or strange. They were just a normal part of life. Today, we often see someone alone and immediately think they must be lonely or unwanted. But for many kids who grew up in the 70s, being alone was when they felt the most alive, the most themselves. It was in those quiet moments that they could truly explore their own thoughts and imagination without any outside pressure. Now, it's easy to dismiss all this as simple nostalgia. You know, those back in my day, stories that always sound a bit more romantic than they actually were. But this isn't just about looking at the past through rose-colored glasses. It's about recognizing what that environment provided for a whole generation. Time to think, freedom to explore, room to just breathe, and most importantly, the space to become friends with themselves. Those habits, formed in childhood, tend to stick around. That's why today, as adults, many of those 70s kids still actively seek out solitude. They're the ones you see hiking a trail alone, happily lost in a book at a coffee shop, or just tinkering away in the garage for hours. They take pride in not needing constant company to feel complete. They don't run from silence. They actually crave it. It's their time to recharge and reconnect. So, what can we all learn from the kids of the 70s? The biggest lesson is that solitude isn't something to be afraid of or something to escape. It's a skill, something to be practiced and embraced. Finding comfort in your own company is a genuine superpower in our incredibly noisy, hyper-connected world. And maybe, just maybe, putting the phone down, stepping outside, and allowing ourselves to get just a little bit bored could be the key to helping us all reconnect. Not just with the world around us, but with ourselves too. It's a powerful reminder that being alone doesn't have to mean being lonely. And perhaps no generation proves that more than the kids who grew up in the 70s. They didn't just learn how to be alone, they learned how to love it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.